Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Vimba, good morning. Ayo, good morning. Good morning to all our viewers. It's Friday. We kick off where we left off yesterday. So as we reported, OPEC Plus has indeed extended its production cuts because of where oil prices are. So as we talked about yesterday, they were supposed to increase output by 180,000 barrels per day in October. This was agreed back in June. But the precipitous fall, if you will, in oil prices has caused them to reverse course. So those 2.2 million barrels of cuts, they're now going to be extended to November. They claim that they will phase out the cuts beginning in December, but that depends, of course, on where oil prices are. Despite that, oil prices didn't move. In fact, they even fell. Still, it looks like hedge fund traders, it looks like folks who are in the oil markets, they're actually, betting that supply is going to overwhelm demand. So if you take a look at oil prices, you'll see that Brent crude is still at $72.64. West Texas Intermediate that's North American grade. That is still on the 70. And again, I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do this permanently now until the prices rise. Nigeria's benchmark, just to remind everyone, 77.96 for the 2024 budget. So that's still under water. We move to U.S. jobs. They were expecting the big number today, non-farm payrolls. These are the expectations. So for August, the forecast is for 165,000. It was 114,000 in July. Unemployment is expected to tick down in the U.S. to 4.2%. It was 4.3% in July. So the labor market is weakening. We've got a number of other job numbers just to quickly run through them. These are JOLTS, job openings and labor turnover, telling you how many openings there are for labor. 7.7 million. The forecast was 8.1 million, and the June number was revised downwards. There's also a ratio of job openings to the number of people who are available to work. That was in the peak of 2022, coming off the COVID pandemic, it was 2-to-1. Now the ratio is less than 1-to-1. That is the number of job openings per worker. We also had the ADP private sector numbers. Those actually, this is from automated data processing on the private sector side. Lowest increase since 2021. August came in at 99,000. The forecast was 140. July also was revised downwards, just like the JOLTS numbers, to 111,000. So again, more on the labor market softening. You can attribute it thanks to perhaps tightening of monetary policy by the Federal Reserve. And then jobless claims. This was positive, though. This is the number of people who are seeking assistance, unemployment assistance. 227,000. This is for the week ended August 37th. The forecast came in at 230,000. So the fact that it was less than the forecast is actually good news because it's less people who are seeking assistance from government due to the fact that they're unemployed. Prior number was 232,000, although that was revised upwards. So all these numbers pretty much set up what we're expecting for the non-farm payrolls, which we will get later on today. Donald Trump, he's been speaking a lot to the media. You have to give him credit. He's been talking a lot. He was at the New York Economic Club yesterday. And this particular answer on domestic policy on child care costs. Child care costs in America are so high that in some cases, one parent has to stay home while the other one is working. I mean, you're looking at $700-800 a month, or maybe even higher in some cases. So Trump was asked, take a listen, the question is even there.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about.
That video has almost 10 million views on X right now. He veered off into tariffs. Tariffs have nothing to do with childcare costs. Childcare costs are about tax credits. He talked about, growth and other things that had he just veered off. Here's the lady who asked the question at the New York Economic Club. This is her tweet, Rashima Saljani. Today I asked Donald Trump what he would do to solve the childcare crisis. His response, incomprehensible at best, at worst, outrageously offensive to the millions of families drowning in cost, because he says the numbers I'm talking about, your numbers in childcare are not even as big. Her profile, just to let you know who she is, she's the CEO and founder for Moms First U.S. It's an advocacy group that is looking for government to do what it can to improve childcare costs, get paid time off leave for mothers, and so on and so forth. So this thing was trending so much. Somebody put his answer and fed it to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT, would you hire a person that answered this question? ChatGPT said, based on this answer, I would have concerns about hiring this person. The response is notably disorganized and lacks clarity, making it difficult to understand their proposed approach to lowering childcare costs. Effective communication and the ability to provide clear, actionable plans are crucial qualities for most roles. The answer might suggest difficulties in articulating and implementing ideas effectively, which could be a red flag depending on the job requirements. Now, again, to give Trump credit, he has been talking repeatedly to different media outlets, and that is something Harris hasn't done. So maybe you can give him credit for at least showing up. We don't have time. There was another answer on the deficits that was even worse than this answer on childcare costs. That also is trending, but because of time, we can't play it. It was really bad. He was asked, what policies would you use to reduce the U.S. deficit? And I tell you, go online and you can find it. Let's get to Nigeria. The Minister of State for Oil Resources, Honorable Minister Heineken Lokpobiri, speaking to the media yesterday about what's been going on with fuel prices and the scarcity. He says we should get it by the weekend. But he also, again, has said that the downstream sector is deregulated. Take a listen.
Between now and the weekend, there will be availability of products across the length and breadth of the country. The price could be high in some other areas, much more. Higher in some other locations, in some locations much more than, other areas. But we believe that by the time, there is availability of products across the country, the price itself will stabilize. But what is important is that government is not fixing prices. This sector is deregulated, and we believe that with the availability of products, the price will find, its level.
Saying that because it's not true. Prices are still being fixed. Dangote Refinery put out this post. This was a response to a Business Day newspaper report that their petrol is now being lifted. Their petrol is lifted from the NNPC. Just count paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. The PMS market is strictly regulated, which is known to all oil marketers and stakeholders in the sector. Hence, we cannot determine, fix, or influence the product price, which falls under the purview of relevant government authority. Even your guest from NNPC stated that. That is our update for the. In fact, finally, I think it is best for us, again, it's been said several times, we still don't know the cost for the refinery to produce a liter of petrol. Why that is still a mystery is, I'm guessing it's pretty high, and that's the reason why they are not coming forward to tell us, what it costs. But that's our update for today.
Absolutely. Very quickly, I think I want to focus on the fuel issue because that's what's really biting. To come and almost gaslight people and say the fuel sector, petrol sector is deregulated is quite insulting and it's unfair.
Well, diesel is, right? So I think he's playing around, right? So diesel is deregulated, but
right
PMS,
now we're worried about PMS.
Exactly.
That's what people are worried about.
Right.
And the thing is, we all know what the the PIA says. And my question is, we can't pick and choose the parts of the PIA that are convenient for us at various times. And the other thing is, deregulation is not something that happens overnight. You look at Chile, for example, you look at Canada even. It took a decade, close to 15 years to complete the deregulation process. And the last thing you do is remove price controls. It's not something you do at the beginning. First, you get your house in order. So I think that we should stop, throwing words around and gaslighting people. And let's just do the work. Let's clean up NNPC. Let's get NNPC listed on the stock exchange so that we can really know what's happening with its financials.
Yes.
And then, A few years down the line, when we've stabilized that, then we can speak of removing price controls. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's just the reality of it.
There's no money.
Very lastly, still on, our trade relations or, what we're doing with the rest of the world, the only way out of this crisis is to strengthen the Naira. That's the only way out of it. So we need to be bullish about exports, because if the Naira gets stronger, then our petrol price is supposed to become cheaper, all things being equal.
Agreed.
Okay, all right. So I was going to talk about petrol, but let me go back to something you didn't talk about, and I'm sure we would talk about it a lot of times, investment. I'm surprised you didn't bring it up, especially investment from China to Nigeria. Dr. Batia talked about what had happened to investment in the past, what had been done with it, the promises, the 40 billion that was promised at the last summit. I'm talking about the China-Africa summit now.
Right.
But very importantly, in that video we showed earlier during the news, we saw some governors who went out. And so we've said when people are spending state funds, let them come back and show working. So let us see what they've actually done with that. And Lagos State has done something. I think, from Abago, and that's important because he's focused, that's in Niger State, big on agriculture, and that's one of the things that we're looking to enjoy from this partnership, this relationship with China. But Lagos State is the green line. Is they signed an MOU. So that's why I say it's just they go out and they sign MOU. Right. They release big statements, press releases about this. Right. But let me talk about the potentials of this. They've had the blue rail line, red line as well, and now they want to do the green line from Marina to Aja axis. With the coming on stream of Dangote refinery, we've talked about the potential for that community and how that would see more activity around this. They said that the green line will have 500,000 commuters will carry daily. It would be great to evaluate how far, because they also said the same numbers for the blue and the red line, if they've been able to actually meet these numbers, and then what the detail of the deal is. I think that's also quite critical for that. Beyond that, they also did agricultural deals and all that. But it's great to see governors going out there, subnationals, and also looking for potential investors and investment. But more than that is what happens when they come back home and how they consolidate the deals and make them come to life. But green line is coming to Lagos.
It's also important to remember that China has experienced an economic slowdown. The Belt and Road Initiative has been scaled down. The promises they made previous years
they haven't fulfilled all of them. So this new $280 million that they are promising.
This is why China at home needs to worry about fiscal plans and also stimulate consumer spending, which is the mainstay of the U.S. economy. Let me go to the U.S. The big news today in the U.S. is going to be the non-farm payrolls that will come out on Friday, American time. And so Wall Street is watching, everybody is watching. The expectation is that the figures will come in at about 160,000, and also, unemployment rate would reduce to about 4.2%. Some other people are speculating that at best it will be about 114%. Now, why is this important? It's a major gauge that Federal Reserve uses, that they use to measure, the health of the economy. Now, the reality is that employment rate at the job market in the U.S. appears to be cooling. And on Thursday, the ADP released the figures for, private company jobs, and it came in at 99%, at 99,000. Yeah. Immediately that came out, it affected the stock market. The stocks 600 in Europe went down by about 0.6%. In the US, the NASDAQ composite, it seemed to improve a little, but it also dropped later in the day. Markets fell generally. S&P 500 by about 0.3%. So today, after this result comes out, it's also going to have an effect
on the market.
Now, what is the effect? Apart from the market, there's also a political effect. This figure is coming in at a time when we're on the last mile to the November elections. Yes. If there is crack in the job market, it could affect the Democrats, because the Democrats have been boasting that they are presenting a healthy economy. And Trump has been saying that is not true. So that's the political dimension to it. But what is not clear is whether this is as a result of more people looking for jobs, or it's as a result of rate cuts, job rate cuts. But that will be clear by the time those figures are coming. Finally, let me talk about India. India is coming out with a story about a possible collaboration, merger, between Walt Disney and Reliance Industries to dominate the entertainment industry.
Tourism.
If that happens, they will take about 40% of the market. But this has also raised competition issues because of the implications for other streaming, companies within that particular economy. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you at 11.
Yes,
it's not your weekend for you. Global Business Report.